I, 33, female, broke my husband's 32 male heart. How can I fix it?
Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started.
I, 33, female, broke my husband's 32 male heart. How can I fix it? Backstory: when I was a teenager, I met a boy one summer, lost my virginity to him, and we had a whole puppy love thing going on. When school started, my mom was transferred, and he was sent to live in another state with his mother. So the relationship was never able to run its course naturally. To make matters worse, I was pregnant. According to then boyfriend's mom, when he moved in with her, he became really depressed, started hanging around a bad crowd, doing drugs, and then his best friend committed suicide. His life fell apart at that point, and he overdosed on cocaine and was sent to juvenile detention. Before all that, we had talked on the phone every day. After his troubles, we wrote to one another all the time. He was an addict by this point and couldn't stay out of trouble. And when I had a baby, I put him up for adoption. Then boyfriend understood, told me he was proud of how brave I was, and we remained very close through letters. So, this went on for about 8 years. I dated, had a life, but also continued to write this person. And all the letters were very loving and romantic and completely unrealistic. We really didn't know each other well at all, had never spent a significant amount of time together on a day-to-day basis. But we did escape from the world together in our letters because it's fulfilled some weird need in our lives. We always claimed to be the only ones who understood each other. Eventually, I joined the army, grew up, and met my now husband. Soon after meeting new husband, I spoke to my old friend over the phone. He told me in that conversation that he was gay and that he was back in jail. I had already begun to outgrow him, and this information made me sure of that. Not necessarily the fact that he was gay, but just all of it. And that any pretend future I had idealized in my mind wasn't reality. I stopped speaking to him, not to intentionally cut him out, but as a natural result of being so invested and interested in now husband and in building a life with him, and just moving on with life. About 8 years later, my husband was away on business. I was bored and it was late, and among other people, I googled old boyfriend and found out he had committed suicide in prison. When husband came home the next day, I told him in tears since she was a little less than comforting, which he understood. And then life went on. But then 2 years later, old boyfriend's mom found me on Facebook. And talking to her just dredged up everything. She wanted to talk about her son, of course, and also ask if I knew anything about the baby I had given up. I did, very minimally, but she really pushed it in the area and talked about me being that child's natural mother, etc., etc. Point is, she really opened up some old wounds there. Plus, she was sending me old boyfriend's suicide letter, his last drawings, his case files. Basically, because he had been in and out of the trouble and never had a life after we met. I was the closest thing she had to a daughter-in-law. She didn't know he had been gay either. All of this, his death, and my adopted child, old memories, sadness, and guilt over the suicide put me in a bad place of regret and what ifs in depression. Husband and I fought over my involvement with old boyfriend's mom, and I claimed they were family and that I wasn't going to say I didn't care about old boyfriend just to make him happy. In his worry and insecurity, and because I wasn't talking to him, he installed a keylogger on my computer and saw the messages I was writing to old boyfriend's mother. In those messages, I mentioned how much I had loved old boyfriend and he was my soulmate. I had no idea he had done this. Finally, I got over it and that could pass. My husband and I's own son was becoming a teenager and having all these email written conversation with a girl on Facebook, and it really put my old relationship into perspective. I started to look at it in a different light, realizing how unhealthy, immature, and romanticized it had all been, and the last vestiges of it all disappeared. I have always and still do love my husband completely. He has brought so much more growth and love and joy into my life than anyone else. After all of this, our relationship was still great, or so I had thought. We got into a huge fight one night, and he admitted to reading my messages and seeing the soulmate comment, and I was stunned. I didn't deny it, but I tried to explain the whole messy mental situation. But now that it's in the open, things have never been the same. I stopped all contact with old boyfriend's mom. I removed all of old boyfriend's things from the house, suicide letter, etc. I tell husband over and over that he is my soulmate, but when I try to discuss it, nothing corrects it. His body language is telling me he will literally put a wall between us and turn his back to me. I can tell that he doesn't treat me with as much love and cares as he used to, even though I know he loves me still. I want to fix this. I want my husband to realize I love him more than I've ever loved anyone, that I don't have another soulmate, and that he is my world. What can I do or say? Edit. I just remembered I never actually said to his mother that he was my soulmate. I erased it from my message, but Keylogger still picked it up. I initially argued that I erased it because it wasn't accurate, but at this point in time, would just have accepted it as what was said.